I want to take a few minutes and review your final project for ED 591. Now, if you go into Blackboard and you go to weekly content, go all the way down to the bottom, you'll find a section that says Final Project 2016. And you will find sample documents, and you will find the project explanation, and you will find blank forms for you to fill out. And we'll walk you through those over the next few minutes. Important to remember, May 3rd, the project is due. May 3rd, no later than 11:59. I need to make sure that I have ample time to grade your projects. I want to give them the time that they deserve, and I want to make sure that I have the grades in on time, and I know the university would be very happy about that. So let's start with this file here, which is Final Project File. Now, when you open this file up, what you will see is this document. And you will see that it says Final Project. And it says that there are three parts to this final project. The very first part of the project is the budget narrative. The second part is actually the 5-year budget itself. And the third part is the advancement plan. Again, reminder, May 3rd is when the project is due. Now let's go through the budget narrative. This is the very first section. Okay, you're asked to write a narrative about basically the rationale for your 5-year financial budget. You're telling me why the budget will exist the way you designed it. Now, you also need in this section to show how your budget and the process points to an adherence to the ISLLC standards. You're all very aware of those, but they're also attached at the end of this document. So again, what does the narrative include? Well, it means that you need to put down a brief mission statement. You need to make sure that you have your budget assumptions. We've talked about that throughout this semester. What are the assumptions? Now, what's the timetable? When will you start this process? When will the process conclude? Which individuals are going to be involved in the budget process? Does that mean that it's just the principal and perhaps the pastor, or principal and assistant principals, finance person? Who actually will be involved in this process? Are teachers involved in this? Are parents involved in this? What's actually the process that you'll use? What data will you be looking at? Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, are you going to be looking at items like, if you're in elementary school, baptisms? Are you going to be looking at past enrollment, projections in your area of local Catholic feeder schools? What data will you use? Will you be using data in terms of standardized tests that would indicate that you need to start a new program? Are you looking at data saying, well, I really want to start a new kindergarten program because of the fact that there's a growing number of parents who want that for our school? If you're in a high school, maybe you're going to start a STEM program. Well, what are you using for a basis of that? What data are you using? Sources of revenue. Where will you be getting your money? Tuition rationale. If you're going to increase your tuition by X%, that's great. But why? Well, because you're starting all these other projects. What's the rationale? Salary increases and compensation philosophy. You've already done this. It's basically putting it in a different format. So what's your salary increase, and what's the rationale for your compensation package overall? Not just your salary, but also whatever benefits, meaning retirement, meaning health care, whatever that would be. Again, making sure that you include comments about your enrollment projections. Well, you're expecting, because of the economy, your enrollment's going to go down, or the economy is really growing and your area is booming with new families coming in, therefore your enrollment will go up. What are your staffing projections? Will your staffing remain the same as the current school year, or will you be adding things to it? What about capital improvement? Does your school need a new roof, a new sidewalk, new doors? Does your school need a new cafeteria? Are there plans that you have? Now, maybe you say, well, we're not going to do any in the next 5 years. That's okay. That's the decision that you make. And again, any new educational programs that you might start. And again, it says when I evaluate your 5-year budget, I'm going to compare the numbers that you put down with the plan that you've outlined, this narrative that you've put forward. And again, part 2 is the 5-year budget. You can do a couple of things here. If you want, you can use the hypothetical Catholic elementary school, name it whatever you'd like, assuming that you'll have 500 students, pre-K through 8. Or you can, if you're in the high school, and that's where you're at right now, and you say, well, I'd like to do the high school one, that's fine. Assume that your enrollment is about 1,000. Now, the one thing I will say here is that if you'd like to actually use your own school for this, not a problem. Be more than happy to let you do that. Okay? But you're not required to do that. For some of you who are in administrative positions right now, you might want to go ahead and do that and simply submit it and say, this is really what we're going to do for the next few years at our school. That's fine. But again, the budget will include income and expense items. Okay? Now, again, here's a note. If it's more useful to use your own school as basis for your budget, feel free to do that and base it upon your current population. Just make a note of that somewhere. Now, some particulars for the elementary schools. I mentioned baptisms. Again, this is just an estimate. I'm not saying that you have to come up with exact numbers. Just assume, even if you're using your own school, what is your parish, what do you think the parish baptisms are? If you say, well, they're baptizing 15 children a year, that's fine. No hard and fast numbers here. It's just to get you to start thinking about when you're looking at enrollment projections. In Catholic school, baptisms in the parish can play a role. What's your enrollment history? Again, if you're just using the hypothetical elementary school, you can make up whatever numbers you want. That's up to you in terms of your enrollment projections. You need to make sure that your budget that you're creating simply reflects that. Enrollment trends you'll be asked to do. Tuition projections and calculations, staff projections, salary and benefits, projected staff salaries, major capital costs. Again, in this section, if you don't have anything, you'll leave that blank. For the high school, you're going to, again, look at enrollment histories. You won't be looking at baptisms because it really doesn't apply in this case. Enrollment trends, looking at attrition. That's a big item in the high schools. Again, staff projections, tuition projections, salary and benefits, major capitals. Now, the part 3 is the Comprehensive Institutional Advancement Plan. We can call this Comprehensive Development Plan. For right now, it's going to be the exact same thing. The section here, you're only going to be using it as a 3-year. I know it's a little strange, but in 5 years, you never know. So we'll just go ahead and do a 3-year, make your life a little bit easier. In this section, what am I looking for? A statement of the purpose of your campaign. Maybe you're not doing a capital campaign, but what is going to be the case statement, the statement of the purpose for your annual giving program? Everybody needs to have an annual giving program. The planning process. You've been working the last couple of weeks on your annual fund plan, and I've made comments on those. This is where that comes into play. Now, if your school is going to do a capital campaign or a major gifts campaign, that's great. Add that to the mix. Statement of your goals. What's the financial goal that you're setting? What is the participation level that you're looking for? What percentage are you looking for? 10%, 50%, 100%? What is it? The timetable for events, mailings, what do you do? What are you anticipating your cost? Again, this is important because your budget needs to reflect this. Staffing needs. Who's going to do this? Are you as the principal going to do everything? You and your assistant, administrative assistant? Hopefully not, but that has to be factored in. Selection process for personal solicitations. How will you determine who will get that call from you or that visit from you? And then how are you going to evaluate the effectiveness of your program? That's important. Again, the institution advancement plan needs to be concise. I don't want a 50-page paper. You should be able to do that within a few pages. Again, you can use a chart format for this. That's also totally acceptable. Again, reminding you that it's May 3rd is the due date. And right here, you see my cell phone number, 301-467-9100. That's there for you to contact if you have any questions about the project. Okay. And again, I mentioned about the ISLLC standards. They're listed there. So again, make sure that you incorporate those in your narrative. Now, so we've gone to that part. Now let's look at another part. And let's look at the high school. This is the template that you'll be using. And it goes something like this. When you look at your school, you're going to look at baptisms. Now please note here it says cells in red are formula driven. Please do not type over those. And I'll show you what that means. So if I say that in 2012 we had 25 baptisms. Okay. Now, notice here it says the average over 3 years. Now, let's say I have only had 10 this year. You'll see that number changes. That's why we say do not write over the red numbers. It will automatically fill those in. If for some reason on yours it doesn't, please let me know. Again, here, you'll see these red numbers, total enrollment. You might not be able to see this, so I'll enlarge it a little bit for you. Now, you'll see current. Okay, let's say you have 25 students there, and you have 25 there, okay, and then you have 25 in this grade. You'll see here your total enrollment, okay, will, be shown there. And again, it goes all the way through. Now, here's what you have to add, total number of classes. Well, if I'm going to say I have 1 in each grade, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 classes. So I've got 13 classes. I put in that number there. And what do you see? Well, in this case, there's a problem with the formula. I need to make sure I fix that. But again, we need to, it'll show down there. Now, enrollment trends, same thing here. Notice, because of what I put on the previous page, it automatically filled this up. Automatically filled that up. Okay? Now, tuition. Now, here we're giving you, because the elementary school, sometimes you have a child that's in parish. It says diocesan students. They can be parish students. And then you say diocesan student for the second child. Now, if your school doesn't have, you only have one tuition, just put one down. That's okay. Some schools have tuition for non-parish, out-of-parish students. Again, fill this number in and it will put there. Again, same thing here. Staffing projections. Now here, I put some of these in. So I'm going to say that I'm going to have one principal. Let's say I'm going to have 2 assistant principals. Okay, I don't want to do a number there. I want to just do the number 2. Okay, so I just put in 20. But you'll notice down here, professional staff, now you have 2. Excuse me, it's 2.1. Now, if you have 1 librarian, you put 1. Okay, and again, this will give you your total staff. Again, for your teachers here, now, if you only have 1 first grade, that's fine. Let's say in 2nd grade, you have more than that. That's fine. You can just add 1 and it'll start adding those up. So again, you can figure that out. But again, numbers in red indicate that it's formula driven. Again, here you're looking at putting a salary in here, what you estimate. Again, doesn't have to be hard and fast numbers. You don't need to go to your principal and ask, well, how much does every teacher make? No. You can make the number up. If you want to say that your teachers are really doing great and they're getting $65,000 a year, that's great. Or maybe you want to say, well, my first grade teacher is new, so one of them is only making 35, but the other's been here for 30 years and they're making 55. That's fine. Just put whatever numbers you have down there. Again, it just gives you an idea about what your monetary needs are. But again, you'll see here, FICA, again, you should know because of the textbook that there's a percentage there. What is the FICA? Okay. Medical, again, what your best estimate is. If you say, well, the school's going to pay, the medical is going to be $3,000 for each person. You can put $3,000 there. And if you're going to do dental, fine, put a number. Again, you decide what that is because we've talked about that during the course of the semester. Again, what about retirement? Is there a percentage of their salary? Maybe you're saying, we're not going to do retirement. Okay? Life insurance. Does your school do that? If not, leave it blank. Unemployment, workers' comp. Again, you saw those from the textbook. Projected salaries. Again, you'll start to see those numbers in here fill in based upon the previous worksheet. Projection totals, you'll start to see those. Now, this is where you put in the final. Okay? Now, this is the big one because this summarizes everything. You'll see all these red numbers. That means they are driven by the formulas in these sections that you filled in down here. What you need to do is constantly look at this line here, net, school profit or loss. If your school is losing money, then the question is, in your narrative, you have to explain how you're going to pay for that deficit. Maybe because of the deficit, you have an endowment, so you're going to take some of that. But if you come up here with a number of $1 million, or you come up with a surplus of $1 million or $2 million, then you need to go back to your numbers here because that's a problem. Okay? That's a problem. So again, as you go through, you'll see that the top numbers, okay, this is the summary up here, okay? And what you're going to do, this will be filled in by the numbers you put down here. But then when you get down to these other sources of revenue, is there a parish subsidy? Is there interest income? Because you have investments. Maybe you're making $20,000 or $100,000 a year. What is it? Are you renting facilities? If you don't do any of those things, leave it blank. Now, development office income, again, CFC donations, grant from uniform companies, things like that. But again, go through all these. Now you'll see instructional materials. What do you anticipate? I'm not going to say your number here is wrong, but if you put down that you're only spending $10 on classroom materials for your entire school, I might question that. But if you say, well, it's $1,500 or $2,000 or $8,000, that's fine. Just make sure that at the end of the day, when you look at your summary up here, the net, look at your profit and loss. You'll see a minus or a plus there. Okay? Again, you'll see all of these sections in here. Take a look at that to make sure. Now, again, if you look at the high school, it's very similar to that. So there's no major confusion with it. Now, the one thing that I did want to do is talk for just a minute about the formatting for the paper. It's APA format. Now, I put a little template here, and I'll put this again on Blackboard so that you'll see it. But you basically put your name. William Shakespeare is my choice today, and this is the budget, narrative, and advancement plan. It's the budget, narrative, advancement plan for St. and whatever name your school you want to put. You can put St. Michael's, St. Maria, St. Jerome. It doesn't really make a difference to me. Put your name there. Marymount University. Author's note, this is the final project. Now, what we're going to do is, again, put a table of contents. And again, you'll be able to fill this in. But this is the format that we want. This is, if you will, the half page, no more than a half page abstract. That's basically the summary, executive summary. That's all it is. Try to condense it. So you say, this is what we're trying to do, but again, condense it, no more than a half page. And then you're going to start with your actual plan, talking about the budget assumptions. And that's where you put the headings in here. budget assumptions, staff projection assumptions, those types of things. And the same thing you can, you include in this narrative and advancement plan, you'll be able to put your advancement plan, include all as one. If you're using references from something, okay, use those there. Again, footnotes, if for some reason you want them, again, APA format, so just remember that. You can also do a section on the table, so maybe you want to use a table for something. Is it required? No. I'm just stating that if you want to do that, you can do that. So again, the idea behind this is to make it as unified and as clean as possible. Again, you'll see here that you've got samples that will give you what a budget would look like that's filled in. This is one that I've already filled in. Okay, take a look at that. See how it's done. If you have any questions about it as you go through, please let me know. The idea is that this project will be a culmination of everything that you've done throughout the course of the semester. Again, I appreciate all your hard work throughout the semester. And as always, if you have any questions or concern, please call or email me. I want you to be successful with this, and I want you to feel that at the end of this project, you have an excellent handle on what you need to do in terms of the financial planning for your school, as well as the advancement, the fundraising aspect of your school, so that when you assume that leadership role, and even if you're in that position, that you have a much better handle on that and you're capable of running it flawlessly. Again, appreciate it and have a great day.